How do you recover from your worst season ever? From winning the league comfortably to getting relegated with similar ease. Josh Wright is now challenged with not only his first job in management, but with the expectation that they will win promotion at the first attempt. Josh, that season in the National League, 24-25, what were the ambitions of the football club?
The season before that, we'd stayed up by the skin of our teeth in terms of the last day, but we ended the season obviously on a big high. At that stage, it was an achievement because obviously we had a battle on our hands, and then obviously going into the summer, you're looking at a big overhaul of players, which happened. There was a big freshen up, if you like. And we went into that season with hopes of kicking on. What that kicking on looked like is difficult to put our finger on it right now and as to where we're at. But we certainly didn't envision the tough times that we had and how bad it was during that season in terms of losing a lot of games. Obviously change of managers and different things and bits and bobs that were going on. And it was difficult, but to say that we were going into that season just to stay up, it was certainly not that. Was it to stabilise? Was it to get in and around the mid-table? Probably something more like that. But did we have ambitions of maybe getting into the playoffs and giving it a push? Yes, because you have to set your standards high and look to be as successful as you can. So it was a little bit of, was it this, was it that, but it certainly wasn't what happened, and it was very, very difficult as people can see from the outside, but within as well. It was a tough time, it was a tough season.
How far into the season did you realise it was going to be a battle for relegation?
It's a good question, because I think even pre-season, as an experienced player myself and maybe one or two others that were around, that you can just sometimes get a feel and get a sense that something not so much wasn't clicking, but it was like something might have been missing. What that was, it's probably not for me. I was a player at the time, obviously, to stand here and say, but we suffered a heavy defeat opening day of the season at Gateshead, but we went there with obviously ambitions of getting a result at that time, but we know we were going to a tough place. It wasn't just the travel, but Gateshead were a very good side and still are, but they passed the ball very well, and it was a difficult day, and you're coming home on that bus and you're thinking, how's this going to be? How's it going to unfold? And we didn't really get going. It was early in the season in terms of the first few games that we're thinking this could be a difficult season now. If we don't regroup now and something doesn't change in terms of the way we were playing and the way that we were going about things, then this is going to be a long season. Did we expect it to be as tough as it was? No, absolutely not, because we had some ability in the squad. We had what we felt was togetherness. Obviously the way we were going about things, there was boys were enjoying it at the time, but when you're losing football games it becomes tough. That then rolls. It's like the opposite when you're winning football games and you gain momentum. There's nothing like it in football. There's nothing like it at a football club when you've got that momentum, and we didn't. We had the complete opposite. So when it happens once, when it happens twice, and all of a sudden you're on that roll of losing football games, it becomes a habit, and a bad habit. I would suggest and say that we sensed it quite quickly that this is going to be a long season and a tough season, but to the levels of what it got to, you never quite expect that.
As a leader in the changing room, as captain as well at that time, how did you galvanise the boys to get together when you're on that losing momentum?
It's difficult because you're not just trying to lift yourself, you're trying to lift the place. And you do that within the change room, you do that in and around the boys, and that's day to day. That's on the training ground, that's coming out to games. But then you also sense the feeling on match days. You can feel the anxiety and that fear, if you like, every time you go into a game, home and away. So you're trying to also push your shoulders back and get your chest out and show what a leader you are, and you need the leaders around you. And it's just difficult because when you come in on a Monday morning and when you walk in on a Saturday afternoon after another defeat, or a Tuesday night, and that bus journey back, and it's low. And it gets lower and lower and lower, and at some stage you get so low it's very, very difficult to then lift yourself, but also you've got to try and show that example and set that right example to lift everyone else. And every day, every week just became more and more difficult, and the odd result that we did get, or the odd positive that we did get, you had to really try and grip hold of. They're the times we go, hang on, here we go, and then you have to try and push it even more. But every time we felt like we were just making that mini step, you get smashed back down, you take another punch on the nose. We were wounded animals. That's what it was. We were wounded animals, and so low in confidence and so fragile that one little flick, if you like, smashed that glass where there was a shatter in it already. And it was difficult times, but you had to just try and stay positive. You had to try and lift the place. You had to keep going until it was over, if you like. You were living off that little bit of hope. You had to try and keep pushing with that and building with that. But there's no denying it was very, very difficult. The Fleet lost 6 of their opening 8 games, picking up just 2 points. And with huge teams in the division, how much is the standard increasing in the National League? Every single year, every single season, well, every day and every week, if I'm being honest with you, because the levels of the game right the way from the top. Like we talk about the Premier League now, and teams, it used to be a top 5, a top 6. There's now like 12 teams that could potentially push for that top 4, top 5, and there's not really any any easy game at any level now, right the way from that all the way through, and I think it's filtering and getting pushed all the way down, and the level of players are getting pushed all the way down because of the standard right the way from the top. And that comes the same with finances, that every team or so many teams are backed well now, back strongly and can be competitive, whereas years ago there was the odd team, couple of teams, 2-3 teams in each division that could outpay or outweigh other opposition, but now it's so even and so level. I even think the analytical part of it, the level now that the homework teams do on opposition and the work that they do through the week, full-time and part-time, the fitness, the science behind it now, the actual levels of strength and physicality that have come to it, there's not where it used to be sort of even 5-6 years and beyond that years ago, where teams would be fitter, stronger and grind teams down. The levels of that now that's behind it, it's so strong, and every single year, and as you say, I look at that National League now, and listen, I've only come into these sorts of levels over these last few years. When I first joined Ebbsfleet, it's league football now. There's no what it used to be, or what they call it now, Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, that National League, and I'm going to include National League South and North and probably even beyond that. They're like other leagues now in terms of Football League. That's exactly what it's like, the standards and the levels of it. I've seen it, I've played it all my career in terms of right the way from the top. There's a serious standard. I see it the first year we played National League when we just stayed up, there was that top part, but even the others, the bottom 12, if you like, or the 12 down, the bottom half of the league was very competitive, and all of a sudden you went into the next season, it was like, well, hang on, there's another 6-7 top teams in this now. You have got your top 3 or 4, but anyone outside that's going to be a battle to stay up or get into the playoffs or to be successful, and then to stay, as I say, stay in the division. So the levels of the game are really filtering through, and it's fantastic, because it's fantastic for fans, for football clubs, and for anyone who's interested and associated with it, because it's very competitive, and life's about being competitive, testing yourself and challenging yourself, but you have to be on your game, and you have to keep improving as an individual and as a club, and keep striving for the best, because every day, week, month and year, it gets more and more difficult.
Following their poor start to the season, Ebbsfleet dismissed manager Danny Searle and appointed Josh Wright as interim boss, taking over at short notice for the Aldershot game.
It was a Tuesday night game, and it all sort of evolved on that Monday, and it was a quick turnaround, and obviously the club and Damien, our CEO, asked me to take the game, and there was no way I wasn't going to take that game for different reasons. I see myself as a leader, and I always see myself going into it, but it's a club that I've got so close to my heart. I love the football club, very passionate guy, and I've got so much time for everyone associated, especially the fans. I took that game, it was a quick turnaround, and there was a response. We were really positive and front-footed on the night, and it finished 0-0, but I think anyone at the game see that we should have won the game, and it should have been our win that we were after. But we didn't, we drew 0-0, but obviously the club had already appointed the next manager, who obviously came in a day or two after for that game on the weekend, which we went on to win. Harry came in, fantastic guy, fantastic coach. He gave everything. He gave absolutely everything for the football club. Obviously, it didn't quite happen for him over those next few months with results, because it was a difficult time. He picked up a low group. As we know, it's been very difficult.
Despite the brilliant 1-0 victory over Hartlepool, Ebbsfleet's poor form continued. Watling picked up just 1 win in 15 games, losing 9, leaving the Fleet 11 points from safety, which prompted the board to make another managerial change.
Obviously, the club then turned to myself. They asked me, would you take it? We feel you're the one that could give the boys a lift. You know the group, and I stepped in, and I stepped into the deep end, if you like, and it was very difficult. A moment for the football club where we'd lost too many games. We hadn't been winning for too long now. Even you go back to the season before, we scraped it and we stayed up, but we'd lost a lot of games and not won enough games, and it was a combination and a rolling of effects. And I came in, and was the inevitable there? I'd like to say no, but at the same time I knew it was an absolute mountain to climb, and it was a case that, could I stabilise it, could I give it a go? And we had some good moments. We really improved. We really improved on the pitch and off the pitch. We didn't quite get all the results that we wanted, but it was about just making little steps and going in the right direction, if you like, with the group that I had, trying to lift them. They were on their knees, if you like, in the change room around the place, and I had to try and bring a buzz back, try and bring an enjoyment back, which I did, and try and make the boys enjoy coming into the club again every single day, and try and get an extra percentage, and then bring new players in, fresh faces, and the signings had a massive effect. And the performances didn't quite get the results that they warranted, even though we got some. But it was about just in the end, just stabilising and looking to rebuild, looking to regroup into what we knew probably in the end was going to be the inevitable quite early into my reign in taking charge. All full focus was getting right for the summer and getting right for the next season, because it had been a very difficult time for the football club after what had been such a fantastic time a couple of seasons before that, prior to when we won what's now obviously the National League South, which we're back in now. It was a complete change for the ones that were still here, player-wise and staff-wise, but also the fans obviously could remember those good times, but had suffered some bad times now over those last couple of seasons. It was all about obviously finishing that season as well as we could, but then rebuilding for the next season.
Club CEO Damien Irvine played a huge role in appointing Josh Wright as the club's new manager. So why did he think he was the right man for the job?
The team's always had what it needs. It's had enough. It's a word I use a lot. Off-field facilities, backing from the ownership, staff around them, everything they need to succeed. But they weren't. We tried different managers. It becomes less about being a good footballer and what you're good at, because they've all shown they can be, all the players during that time, and about motivation and team building and the teamwork and getting your best performance week in, week out. The club didn't need someone to make players good that weren't good. We have good players in here. Josh had been in the building. You get to see day to day the sort of person he is, how he works with people, the respect he has among the group, the work ethic, the energy and the belief. You need a certain level of belief and an arrogance in your own ability for other people to follow you into battle every week, and that's what we saw in Josh. Look, it's early days. You know, he's had a very tough time coming on the back of last season, but that will be very valuable going forward. Not all managers have the benefit of being able to go through all that and still be in a management role and then have their own pre-season, their own summer to build into what we're seeing today and what we'll see this year.
As a CEO, what did you learn from that difficult season in the National League?
It's big around recruitment. Recruitment's everything. I think it's one of the hardest divisions to recruit for. Curly, I think because it is the first division outside of the EFL, players will come with the best of intent on player meetings and all your due diligence and all of that. But ultimately, I'm not sure if a great number of the players that are coming out of EFL 1 and 2 are the best result for clubs at this level that want to get on the up and keep going. There's always exceptions to the rule. We've had wonderful success with Chris Solis, Josh Wright himself and other players. A number of them have come down and done the right job, but ultimately recruitment is the toughest lesson to learn.
With the club experiencing one of their worst seasons in history, what was it like for Damien dealing with things off the pitch?
Oh, it's very difficult. I think first and foremost, whether you're a CEO or director of football or the manager, all the staff in the office. We're a full-time club, and fundamentally all you ever want to do is make fans happy, put smiles on their faces, and we'd had the blessing of being able to do that in the National League South with a great championship. So when it wasn't working on the pitch in the National League, it weighs heavily. It really does. It's stressful because you don't like seeing or letting down your people, and our people, the supporters, have been ever so good to us. So very, very difficult year, but you know, we're through that now and looking up.
How do you do that as a CEO to try and get the best out of everyone on the pitch whilst it's all sort of not working?
You've got to get back to looking at the small things, the small details. Focus on the stuff that's right in front of you. If you keep looking at the big picture of where you are on the table, how long it's been since you've had a win, it's weary. You know, it really wears you down. And try and look at little things every day that you can do to freshen things up, change things, focus on the small detail, the marginal stuff. You have to keep going right to the end, even when relegation had been confirmed. We had to keep going, and I think I said at the time we were away at Aldershot when it was confirmed. You're still going out there playing for Ebbsfleet United. Fans are still paying their money to come and see you. Pride's a big thing. In any club, if you go to work every day and show that your pride, your personal pride in your work for your family, for the club, invariably over time it'll be good.
And how difficult is it to make those decisions when it comes to changing the manager?
Oh, it's hugely big decisions. I mean, we're very big here, and I'm personally very big on building what you believe in, appointing what you believe in, and then sticking. You know, you can't turn quickly. You have to stick, and we did that for ever so long in the South. But people get tired, things have cycles, and we probably took some time to, after that first cycle of a management that had come to its natural conclusion, it took us some time to find the right appointment, I think, but I believe we have now.
What are the main changes at the football club when they get relegated?
There's all different changes around, you know, supporters, segregation, whether they can have a beer by the side of the pitch. The travel schedule changes ultimately quite a bit, so there's some cost savings in that type of thing. There's not a great deal of difference budget-wise, if I'm honest, now The National League South, the North, particularly the South, are extremely competitive financially now, with a number of clubs that would easily be competing budget-wise with other National League clubs. So there's not a great deal of change. It's tougher than it ever has been in this South at the moment.
Before the end of the season, you announced that the club was going to stay full-time. How difficult was that decision?
Well, we've been full-time for some time, since I came to the club. Before I came to the club, 2019, it was full-time and had been for a while. We had to make a really strong decision after the COVID relegation by points per game of whether to stay full-time, and I certainly put it to the ownership, is it the right thing to do now we're back in the South? They were adamant that they wanted to retain full-time. I think it was the right decision because I think our fans expect that. I think it's a big concession to go back to a Tuesday and Thursday night. There's a lot of benefits in part-time football at this level, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of clubs toss and turn about whether to go full-time or hybrid or not, but we're a full-time football club ultimately, and no, it's the right way to be for us.
And what is the future of Ebbsfleet United?
We just keep doing what we're doing. I think clubs that sort of put timelines and these great big sort of targets are, you're just putting pressure on and building a rod for your back on that. People hold you to it. We need to keep being as good as we possibly can. The ultimate goal at the moment is playoffs and to be with a promotion shot this year. It'd be lovely to bounce straight back. The fans certainly deserve that. But what they deserve is more winning football, more enjoyment, and that means going to games, because they travel in numbers, going to games knowing that they're in with a battle and a shout, and that's what they'll get this year.
How do you transition from Josh Wright, the teammate, to Josh Wright, the gaffer?
That obviously is a fine balance as well. There's obviously coming out of the changing room and being teammate, captain and friend, to then becoming that manager. So last season was probably a little bit more difficult with that, trying to find the balance and trying to come across the right way individually with the boys or collectively in team meetings and on the training ground and on match days. But in time you just adjust. Players have to adjust, players have to help you with that and buy into that, but you have to as well. You have to find that balance, and obviously there was a big overhaul. There was a big overhaul in the summer that I felt the place needed to freshen up. That was a very, very difficult time for me because I was having to tell players that were friends that I've played with for many years, won championships with in terms of winning the league with them and been successful with, but also gone back a long time in terms of my career playing with them or against them. And I had to say your time's come to an end at Ebbsfleet and I'm going down a different route because of A, B and C. So that was a very difficult time, and obviously there's the handful that I kept or that were staying on that I felt deserved to and were going to help me and benefit the football club. But then obviously need to realise that it's serious stuff. I'm now your gaffer and you're my player, but I need to get the best out of you and you need to buy into me, which they have because they're professional boys. And obviously bringing new players in that I either didn't know or did know in terms of playing against and playing with, and finding the right ones and the right characters and the right balance of age and ability, if you like, that comes with it, and everything that you need to be a successful side, and the right balance, as I say, with the attributes that they needed. And it was a big rebuild. It was a big summer. Of course I had my little breaks and little holidays, but I was in here every single day with the club, who worked tirelessly throughout the summer to get the right players and to get that balance, if you like. I feel we're in a nice position. We've got a very good squad. I've got a great group in there. What I've got is a group of characters and professionals who want to be successful, who want to win, who have won, who know the levels above but also know this level. But I've got a blend of a bit of everything, of the experience and the youth and all the attributes that you need. And it's an exciting group. We're doing all right. There's always room for improvement, but I know what this group can give me and I know what they are in there, and I've got a group of boys that I can trust. I'm all about trust and honesty. It was a big part of my recruitment in the summer, and I'm excited for what's ahead.
Eastbourne the weekend, I don't know how much you obviously know already about them. They are 24th as it stands. Do I think they'll be there in a few weeks' time? No. Like every side, they will have their strengths. Direct style of play, we'll come on to him in a minute. The 14, the boy who plays through the middle, he is a threat. He's number one for aerial duels in the league. That goes with their style. So he will need looking after from in terms of competing with him, but then also on his toes. If he is going to try and bring it down and he is going to try and hold it up, set it off, I need someone to obviously jump on his toes from direct balls, but also when it lands. We're going to have to smooth the game out, we're going to have to deal with their direct style, compete. Set plays they're big on, which we'll talk about a little bit today, but more so on Friday. But if we can match their physicality, match that side of the game, all the basics that we talk about, we could have a really good day. But you need to get your heads on it now, you need your tin hats on, you need to compete more than ever. More than ever, this is a proper National League South game from a few years ago, rather than what we're seeing a lot more teams playing now. But it will be a tough game, but if you're at it, we could have a really good day.
When you took the reins as manager, it meant that the club would lose a player with plenty of Football League experience, how much did you miss being able to inflict a game on the pitch, but now you had to do it from the dugout?
It's probably one of the more difficult ones, because if I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm a very, very honest boy, probably my least favourite day of the week is a match day, because you feel like you do all your work through the week and you can do it individually, collectively in the classroom, and then obviously you put your work into the training ground. But then on a match day, you feel like obviously you can have your team talks and your bits and bobs and what you're doing and what you're showing them within the changing room. But once the boys go over that white line, it's a little bit out of your control. And where I say that, there's injuries that come with it, there's mistakes, there's referees, there's all these sorts of things, there's weather conditions, and you've done what you've done, and if you see it come off or you don't quite, it's a little bit out of your control. But as a player, and the type of player I was, and where I played in the middle of the park, and the leader and the experience, especially the back end of my career, you felt like you could grip hold of something at that time. You could dictate, you could organise, or you could do something with your actions, if you like, in terms of out there on the pitch. Whereas a manager, you can only voice it. Your outcome for that day, if you like, is in other people's control and other people's hands in terms of your players, but also opposition in terms of who's at it, who's not, and those 1v1 battles and the whole collective 11v11. But as I say, those conditions, injuries, mistakes, all those sorts of things. So it becomes difficult that you feel like you've only just finished playing. You want to still be on there to be able to affect that.
You can definitely still do a job.
I'd like to think so. I still join in training, and I win most times, by the way, when I join in training. But listen, I miss the buzz of it. I miss playing. I look after myself. I'm a fit 35, 36-year-old, and I probably could still do a job, but the job's now in my players' hands, and I've got that trust. And the players that I've picked and played and signed, if you like, and brought to the football club or kept at the football club are players that I trust, and I believe they can do the job for me. And every time I put them out there and put them over that white line, I believe they're going to win the football game for me, because they've got what it takes, and they're a really good group. So long may that continue, and the more we're together, because there's been a big overhaul and there's been a lot of new players, and it takes time to click. But the more we work together, the more we learn and know what we're about and what everyone's about, and know what each other wants, then the better we'll get.
When the club's fate was sealed, did it take a bit of the weight off everybody's shoulders?
It was difficult to keep the motivation, if you like, within the group, because boys are probably starting to think, oh, well, I'm not going to be here next season, will I not? They're asking me questions every day, and it's difficult for me to, one, I hadn't made my decisions on the majority of them, but also I needed to keep a group together to finish the season. So in some ways, for myself and the club, that now we know where we are and what we need and what we're going to rebuild and where we're going to go. But for the actual players, it's a little bit demoralising, a little bit flat for them, and then they also don't know where they are. They're going to be here, and thinking about injuries and things like that. It was very difficult. People probably think it was, but they don't quite realise how difficult it was. It was a really, really tough time. It was a really, really low time for the club, and having to keep coming in and being the professionals that we are, because it's our work and it's our place, and we owed that. We owed that to the club and to the fans and everyone associated, because it is our job. But it was a very difficult moment, very difficult time before the fate was sealed, but people knew it was coming. But then when it was actually sealed as well, to finish that season as professionals as strongly as we can, and I believe we did. But it's not nice, but I'm a big believer that when times are great, it's fantastic, and of course you still learn, but you learn hard. And sometimes when you learn hard, it's the best way. And as I say, I threw myself into the deep end, and I learnt a lot. I learnt a hell of a lot last year, and I don't believe it'll ever be as bad as that. Whatever I do and wherever we go as a football club and as an individual, I don't think it'll ever get as bad as that. And I took a lot from it, you know, and I had to wear a lot. I had to wear it on my shoulders and take it sort of inside and then out into the press and to the outside world. I think it's left me in good stead. I think it's left the club in good stead, because we'll make sure we'll never see a time like that again, and then have it as difficult like that again. For whatever reason it got to that, I can't put my finger on it why, as a player and then as a manager, but it did. But we have to make sure it doesn't happen again, and that's exactly what we'll be doing.
What was the biggest thing that surprised you when you took over as manager in the National League?
What I would say is it's relentless. It's relentless when it's good and when it's not good. There's never a time that you can switch off. I take it everywhere with me. I try not to, because I try and unwind and go home to my wife and kids and try and switch off, but you wear it with everything you do. Someone wants a bit of you all day, every day. Your phone's constant, from when you're in the club to when you go home. But it's just it's a dying passion of mine to be successful. So maybe that's my mind, that I can't switch off, and I'm forever thinking about training, thinking about the game, thinking about a team, thinking about where we can improve. And that's just the way I am. But I think that's a common thing with managers, because it's you. You get the plaudits, but you also get the criticism when it comes. But I knew that. You have to wear that on your shoulders. You have to be strong. You have to be brave. But it's probably just the fact that it's all day, every day, all week, all month, all year, that you're constantly at it. It's just a full-time 24/7 job. Which I knew and I was always told it, and I didn't quite realise how much until I've actually stepped in. But it's something that I thrive off and something that I enjoy.
How important was it that the club stayed full-time going into the National League South Division?
Yeah, I think, listen, the full-time advantage obviously benefits you and gives you it, but there's a lot of full-time clubs now. So I think the standard of the league, the level of the league is head and shoulders above what it was when I last played in it and when we won the league. The finances, as I say, the science, the analytical side of it, the level of the players, the clubs, the backing, all those sorts of things it's a much, much higher, bigger standard. You just look at the names of some of the clubs in it, it's crazy. It's crazy, the level of the game now, and we'll talk about this level. But to be full-time, it gives us the benefit of the fitness, it gives us the benefit of the work ethic and the information that we can give the boys, and then the work that we can do outside on the training ground. I think you'll see as the season goes on, Christmas time, going into the January, February cold months, is when it really kicks in. The injury side of things and the availability of players, all those sorts of stuff. So it was crucial. It was crucial that the club did that, and we are a full-time professional football club, and we want to strive for the best. We want to strive to get this football club back to a minimum of a level above. I think it's got all the foundations and the backing and the guidance from above to be a really, really successful football club, and to kick on not just in this league and not just in the league above, to go above and beyond that. It will take time. It won't happen overnight. We got ourselves in and around it obviously a couple of seasons ago, and then for one reason or another it didn't quite happen, and we started and we fell back away. But now it's about regrouping, and things will take time, but we'll get there over time, and hopefully we will become a very successful football club again.
Does the full-time help you recruit players? Because a team that got relegated might not be appealing to some players when it's very competitive in that market, but like you say, the foundation of this football club, it could be a football league club with what it's got, the infrastructure. So how much does that help you following the relegation?
Well, professional footballers want to be full-time. They want to train every single day. They want to come in and they want to work and they want to feel like a proper footballer. So when you're trying to sign players, of course it does. If you've got the backing financially as well, that's where clubs can be successful, because they can attract those footballers that maybe have been football league footballers or are striving to be football league club footballers. And they want to be full-time because they know they'll improve as an individual, but they know the club will improve as well and will do everything right to get results. As a footballer and now as a manager, you don't want to be at home and doing something else and focus on something else. You want full focus on being the best you can be. So to be a full-time football club helps in all angles, but certainly helps to attract the players, yeah.
Alongside Josh is his assistant manager, former professional footballer David Kerslake, whose wealth of experience will be valuable at this level. But what does he think it takes to be a successful manager in the National League?
Well, you need everything. There's nothing that you don't need to, be at this level that you have to have a Premier League. I think, Josh has been in it a short while, but he's learned extremely quick. Dealing with players is a big thing. Dealing with the people above you is another thing. There's no different, but whatever level, it's just maybe egos at a higher level.
So what style of play can we expect from this Ebbsfleet United squad?
We try and play through the thirds. We'll have players run ahead of the game. We will mix the play. We'll find a way of winning. Inevitably, the manager, he will want to get the ball down and pass it.
And how can your experience help Ebbsfleet United move forward in this division?
Well, I've worked with some really good managers and coaches, so I know what good looks like. So I'll pass all my experience and whatever ability I have, to Josh and the team, and hopefully that's enough. Yeah.
You've experienced promotion as a player at this football club, relegation. What would it mean to win promotion as a manager of Ebbsfleet?
Probably more than anything. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm a big believer of envisioning stuff and training your mind to believe it and make that happen. To see it happen or to make it happen one day at this football club, to get the promotion as a manager would probably be the proudest day, especially in my football career, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I've got such a drive inner power and fuel and fire in my belly to make that happen. And I work tirelessly, as do my staff, as do the boys and the whole football club, to make that happen. And I will continue to strive to do that, and I strongly believe at some stage I will make that happen. because I believe I've got, and the club's got, and this group's got, and everyone associated, my staff, my assistant, David Kerslake, and everyone else has got the attributes and the experience and what it takes to be successful and to make that happen. And as I say, I envision it and I want to make that happen, and I will do everything I can in my power, because it would be a fantastic achievement, but one that I'm desperate to make happen.
Josh, I wish you all the best.
Top man.